guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade. So today we're going to be revisiting a little bit of an old classic unit, just as my fire goes out, typical. An old classic unit, the Fortebraccios, or the Fortebraccios, however you want to pronounce it. I'm almost certainly doing it wrong. So these guys were released way back in Season 3, and at the time when they first came out, they were crazy powerful. So they basically had lightsabers on sticks, and anything they touched got pretty much eviscerated within a second. And yeah, they really dominated the whole season. Then towards the end of the season there was a nerf, and then following on from that there was a further nerf that basically said anything hits that were too close to the model, so i.e. if an enemy stands right in front of this unit, you can basically not do very much damage because he can't bring his spear to bear on him. You know, he can only hit him with his wooden shaft. No innuendo intended. And so that meant that they basically dropped out of favour. They never had the stun on them like something like the pike militia does. So that kind of meant that it was all about that damage, and once that damage dropped off, they sort of became a bit useless. Well, now we've had the epic doctrines introduced, things have kind of been cast around again and changed up a little bit, because now we have a stun doctrine. Well, that evolves things quite a lot, particularly when you consider that, particularly since Season 5, Fortebraccio then took basically a further nerf, in the sense that stalwarts and paladins, because paladins actively block and stalwarts just have so much block, could very easily just push into their face and brace. Well, while that is still, at least in part, the case, now the fact that there is a stun doctrine to put on them, that means that the units are going to have a hard time getting into their face, because every time they get hit, they're going to get stunned and stagger back. So it's going to change things up quite a lot. And I think it's going to bring Fortebraccios back to being a half-useful unit again. It's also going to make them a little bit more effective against cavalry, although they are already pretty effective. It's going to mean that particularly as cavalry passes through them, they should get stunned as well as take the high amount of collision damage through the pike. So yeah, really probably one of the better doctrines to be introduced with the epic doctrines we've been having. It's certainly probably the most powerful one, or one of the most powerful ones for pikes that you're going to be getting. We do have a potential allow unit to charge, but if you watch my video testing some of these epic doctrines on the PTR server, then you'll know that the charge was actually relatively crap, but it didn't really seem to add all that much. There is an extra pike damage one that I want to get my hands on, but, they've introduced 40 or so doctrines, and they're pretty rare to get your hands on, and I haven't been able to get my hands on one yet, despite using about 300 treaties, so hopefully in the future we'll get our hands on one of them. So let's hop into a little bit of battles now, see how we've been getting on with the Fortebraccios. Has this stun doctrine really improved them all that much? So we are on the Great Wall for our first clip, and we kick things off actually in the main gateway. The enemy has been climbing up the ladders on the wall and made a little bit of a push for the gateway. Initially I just go to block up the entrance, but as that clears up I push into the main group. But as we get more people starting to push through, I just swing the unit back around so they can deal with the gateway. And I know nothing's now going to be able to get through there, so it enables me just to focus with my hero on what's left, while the Fortebraccios do their job and keep that gateway blocked up. I can't believe that longsword managed to get away. He did a good job there. So with that, we've then secured this area, really. I managed to glitch my camera out slightly, but we see the enemy heroes kind of pull back. And yes, I could go down and chase them, and we could probably either drive them off the wall or pin them down, particularly as we now have a unit of enemy land knights starting to climb up the ladders and come up the wall. But if I go out of here, then yes, I'm sure I'll still be able to contain them quite easily on the wall. But realistically, they might treb me. They're probably more than likely to have range down at the bottom, which is going to shoot in at me. And while I can cover just this doorway, and they stand no other way of getting in, and they have no other way of getting down off this wall either, then realistically, I think just waiting here is the safest thing to do, and it keeps the unit alive and in full health. And actually, they all ended up getting themselves killed anyway. So I just pulled the unit back in. I was thinking about going back down, but noticed they started to climb some Namcans up. Again, same sort of thing. It wasn't really worth me going down with the unit, I didn't think. But, you can't miss out on a few Namcan kills. So we go down and have a little bit of a look. Get this poleaxe climb up, just go for an ultimate, and get him finished off. Grab a few of the extra Namcan kills, and with them dead, I start to pull back, because they're starting to get quite pushed at the breach, and we are making a bit of an attempt to defend that breach at the moment. So I was just thinking about, do I want to go down there? And I decide that I do. It takes me about a minute to get down there. Nothing happens in that minute. It's not very exciting, these Fortebraccios, for speed, and it's actually genuinely one of their bigger problems. They are a really slow unit, which is why I said I really want to try and get that sprint doctrine, because that's going to make them so much more versatile. But the problem is, by the time we actually get here, really the main enemy push has actually already been defeated. And if you now look at the minimap, you can see the main push is actually now coming straight through the A gate. And it's the same problem. So it's taken me a long time to redeploy to the new enemy push down at the breach. By the time I get there, it's predominantly over. And actually the new main push is through the main gateway. And it takes me a long time to get back up here to try and support this as well. But thankfully, enough of our friendly stalwarts get here, and that really enables me to push up. And Fortebraccios excel in this sort of situation, where there's a clear front line, and I can just keep advancing up damage, and they just pick up lots of damage against high tier units here as well. You know, they cut through enemy stalwarts in this situation. As soon as those enemy stalwarts get a stun, then realistically they end up going down pretty quickly. And that enables us just to keep pushing forwards. I'm always sticking behind our friendly shield line, and that means I can push up without really any damage, and I'm always out of range of the enemy units. We could probably have pushed out into some of those enemy archers, but we were a bit concerned about Trebs, and actually we see them coming in and weren't sure if they were going to come inside the gateway, so we decided to pull back inside. Then I was kind of looking for, what's the next opportunity? I saw a few enemy units there up on that little bit of wooden landing there. So I was thinking, okay, I'll go inside. There might be an enemy unit actually inside the gateway. But as we come up here, there actually really isn't. I'm not sure if it was just a few stray enemy units, or if the friendly team had just dealt with them by the time I arrived. But yeah, really wasn't a lot there. So I just come back down, and I'm trying to decide what I want to do next. As we look outside the gateway, actually quite a big enemy push starting to build up already. We see friendly stalwarts coming. Friendly or even enemy stalwarts. And as I turn around, they actually make a really quick push, quicker than I was expecting. I rush my unit up to the gateway to try and get blocks as they come in, and actually it's fairly effective. And you see, look at the amount of kills we are getting now, building up large numbers of kills very, very quickly. But we are starting to get pushed, and we're starting to get overwhelmed now. I have no friendly shields in front of me, so I'm trying to beat like a retreat, a tactical retreat, where they keep having to walk into me. We get a lot of damage on this enemy shield unit as they do, but then another unit of stalwart pushes in, and ultimately it becomes too much and the unit gets overwhelmed. I try and make a run for it, but unfortunately get myself killed. But it shows we managed to get 125 kills, and a lot of them are in extreme burst damage. It shows how much damage this unit can put out in a short period of time, particularly now it has this stun mechanic, which does make them a lot more enjoyable to use. So on to our next clip, and at this time we are actually attacking with the unit. Obviously, same problems that they always are slow to get into a situation. But as we come up, we see these enemy serfs just trying to come up for the unit. They go for the charge. I'm a little slow in getting set up, but just by using my hero to cause a little bit of delay, it means I can get set up in time. And of course, serfs are not going to stand a chance in this sort of situation. I think there might have been woodcutters actually. But the rest of the team turns up fine. We're pushing on. One stubborn woodcutter refuses to die, but we push on, and we immediately get run into by these unit of Conqueror. Again, I'm really late in setting up, but the stun that we now get with this unit actually means even though they're close, we actually get away with it in a situation that I don't think we would have done previously without the stun doctrine. Now we can start to use them kind of what they're made for slowly pushing along the wall, which is continuing to rack up damage even against units like this stalwart. You know, we're not actually hitting through their block, or not very much, but as soon as they get stunned by an enemy hero or an enemy unit, then they drop their block, and then they start to take the full ticking hit, and they never recover their block after that. So that's really how I find these guys actually kill stalwarts. And they work really well for it. Again, same sort of situation, just push in, block, get the damage, and help to wipe the unit out. A bit of an unfortunate treb there from the friendly team, which kind of stopped us from really pushing on through to finish off those last few units, but we're still able to get onto the point. And as we're getting the cap, I'm just trying to sort of keep a little bit of situational awareness over the two staircases to make sure they're not going to come around kind of on the other way. Almost finish off capping, and I'm thinking about probably supply point is going to be the next place to go. Stop paying attention for just a little bit too long though, and some condos turn up. Bit late in getting myself set up, but actually just managed to get set up in time, and again You know, even though the unit's close, the stun means that they aren't unfortunately able to push through because the stun keeps knocking them back, and that's why the stun doctrine on these guys now makes them so much more effective than what they were. And so for our final clip, we were being really pinned down by enemy range, so we decided to just go for it and get what kills we can, and it just shows how effective this unit can be against a double stack of paladins. Look at the amount of damage they get in. They pin the whole unit of paladins down because they stun the whole unit. They just can't even push into our friendly stalwarts to try and attack. And that's really why the stun doctrine comes in, and why the Fortebraccios are now much more viable than what they were before. But anyway, that's all I've got time for today. Hopefully you have still enjoyed the video. If you have, do let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Are you going to be trying to get yourselves one of these stun doctrines? Because I certainly feel like they changed the game up, and they certainly make Fortebraccios quite a lot more effective than what they used to be previously. Thanks for watching, guys, and I shall see you all on the next video.